going on, everybody? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to try to. I just wrote some stuff down, and how it comes out is how it comes out. I don't have it laid out in any order to say it in or anything. So, just to start off with, uh, there's somebody, and I'm not going to mention no names. uh, I don't even know how they even meant it when they said it, but they claimed Watachi running free is emotional, that I'm an emotional person. I'll agree with that 100%. That's why I'm saying I didn't take it as a put down or um, not even something that he was bragging on me about or anything. But it wasn't saying anything bad. It was like saying, Watachi running free, where's a cowboy hat? I mean, it's true. It's not really a cowboy hat, folks. I mean, that's what everybody calls it. I call it the same thing. I could shape it into many different shapes. I've proven that and shown that in videos. It's not and I'm not a cowboy. It just looks like a cowboy's hat because of the way I shape it. I'm a hillbilly. It's a hillbilly hat. That's what it is. This hillbilly wears that hat. That makes it a hillbilly hat. Uh, but anyway, somebody I already said he. I know what I'm saying sometimes, folks. But somebody said I was emotional. And I agree 100%. The only reason I know that for a fact because today, folks, I'm filled with love. I have love for everyone. When you love everyone, that does get emotional. I guarantee it. Because if you love people, you don't want to see them screwing up and knowing that they're going to harm themselves or they're going to destroy their relationships or destroy their families or whatever. That is emotional. Uh, I'm going to give you a for instance. I had a very good friend of mine that I met. I told you before, I used to ride dirt bikes all the time. When I first moved into Arizona, I bought a RM 250 two-stroke dirt bike out there. And I would take this out. I had a trailer that I could strap it in, and uh, my paint van that I would pull it with, and I would take it out to the desert and go riding it. Well, that's how I've met a lot of people in my life. Is out doing the things I like to do. Going through caves, I've met people. Going through mines, I've met people. Doing many things, I meet people. So I go out and I'm riding this dirt bike around by myself, folks. I didn't have bikes for my kids to go riding with me or my wife to go. Now my wife and my kids, they sometimes we would rent some quads, or even back then they had three wheelers, and we would rent them, and the kids loved to ride them, but I didn't have the money to buy those things. At that time, I had enough money to buy my two-wheel dirt bike, and it was old, folks. Matter of fact, uh, it was from the year I graduated high school, and it was probably 10 years later. So my dirt bike that I bought when I got to Arizona was 10 years old, and it was still running good. It had problems. I fixed those problems, and I rode the daylights out of it. And but I ended up buying a CR 250 two-stroke dirt bike from a friend that I rode around with. And this group of guys that I built when I go out riding, uh, we were all friends, and one of them, he became a real good friend of mine. He was a house painter, and his wife, she was making like $350,000 a year as an architect for, I think it was Gap. She was designing their stores inside and out. If they were single stores, but she was designing all their inside of their stores, and she was making some bucks, man. He didn't even need to work, but they had two places, or actually three, because they had a house in Arizona that they paid for, and then the company she worked for, Gap, I believe it was, she had to be in LA sometimes. They had an apartment that the company paid for on Venice Beach for them to live in when she needed to be in California. And then they also had an apartment in New York City that was, but it wasn't like on the beach, or it was an apartment up in a building, and he didn't even like to go out there. So they had three different places they could spend time at, and he was alone a lot of the times because he stayed home in Arizona where their house was. He didn't like to travel with her, and so he would get out and get in trouble. He had not only the money he made, but she was making $350,000 a year. There wasn't much. If he wanted a brand new 4-wheel drive truck, he went out and put it on a credit card. Let's just put it like that. That's what kind of shit. And he done this stuff in front of me. He actually, we became friends, and then he told me he was a painter, and I was needing some help, and I needed some good help, and he said he was good. So I brought him in to work for me, and we kind of worked. He worked for me, and we also rode dirt bikes. But this guy had it made. They had no kids. They were probably in their late 30s, weren't really planning on having any kids, and they had beautiful house, man. Pool, had a big living room with a big ass pool table in it. I mean, they had some money. And this guy, when his wife, he ended up telling his wife that he didn't want her to be gone all the time. He was tired of it. He didn't want to travel back and forth from California to New York and not have any kind of a life. He wanted a child. So he talked her into quitting that high paying job. Now, this guy, the only reason I'm telling you about this is because they ended up he did uh, quit, or he got her to quit that high paying job, but the job she took still, it was inside the company, and she was home in Arizona all the time. But she had to take about a half a cut in pay, so she was still making like $180,000 a year. And out there at that time was killer money, killer. But this guy was a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine. We worked together. He worked for me, and I helped him do a lot of work that was on his own house and stuff before they moved. When he bought it and before they moved in, I helped him do cabinet work and get the house ready, carpeted and everything before they moved into it with him and his wife. And so this guy, he tells me one time we're out there riding. Now, my wife talks to his wife. We have cookouts, parties. These were the parties where half the people at the party were cops that I tell you guys about. This guy comes to me and says, listen, if my wife says something, and I hope this doesn't hurt his relationship today. I don't know if he's even still alive or if they're still together or not, but there's some people that might know who I'm talking about. And I'm not doing it for that. seen hiding or hair of these people in 20 years, so I don't even know if they're still alive. But this guy asked me to tell my wife and his wife that he was with me this one weekend. And we were out riding dirt bikes. Well, I was out riding dirt bikes. So I wouldn't have been lying about what I was doing. But he wanted me to lie and say he was with me all weekend. And I looked this guy straight dead in the eye. And I told him and this was a long time ago. This is what kind of a man I was back then. I told him, I said straight up, I'm not lying to my wife for you. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm as much a friend with you as I am your wife. She's a friend of mine as well. I said, don't ever ask me to do this again. Don't bring this up in front of me, and don't make me have to. If somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them the truth. This guy didn't speak to me but maybe 2 more times in about a 7-year period. And we were good friends. And now, the last time I saw him, this is what I'm saying, folks. Shit changes, people change all the time. But the last time I talked to him, they had a baby. They bought a brand new house. It was beautiful too, folks. I mean, they had money. And I don't ever worry about whether they're getting along or not, as far as money-wise, but I do worry about whether they're still together and if they got themselves right with God, you know. But it makes me, those kind of things do make me emotional. And I have to admit that. I don't have no problem. If you're telling me a story and it catches me in the heart and in my soul, I'll drop tears right along with you. I don't have any problem with that. Does that make me less of a man? Does it make me a wuss? Most of you, I would say, that know me in the last probably 3 years to maybe 10 years. But in 10 years, I'm talking about people that have met me personally, know me, know where I live, come talk to me and stuff in the last 10 years, and the people online that know of me in the last 3 years has seen many changes. They've seen me cry. I'm telling you what, folks, there was a video I got out here. I was begging you guys to pray for my wife and family. I had about probably 50 heart attacks in over a 5-hour period, and I didn't think I'm going to come through that night. And if you guys don't know me, I don't do doctors anymore. I don't do medications anymore. And I've told my family, do not, if I pass out, do not call 911. If it's my time to die, let me die. I haven't died yet. But if it's my time to die, you let me die at home with you guys around me and not in a hospital that they won't let you in there. That makes you emotional. Guarantee it. Doesn't make me weak. If you think I'm a weak man, come on, folks. I put my address online. I put my phone number online. I put my social security number online. I've shown you my driver's license, my lifetime handgun license. I have showed you guys everything about me. Do I seem like I'm scared of this world? Not scared of this world, but I can be emotional. Back years ago, folks, before I was filled with love, I was filled with hate, anger, like you wouldn't believe, revenge. I wanted revenge. I'll be honest with you, for probably at least up until, and this was after I met my wife and my kids, I was probably still trying to kill myself with alcohol for another 10 years. That'll make you emotional when you ain't got the balls to do it. I've had a gun, barrel in my mouth. All I had to do was pull the, didn't have the balls to do it. I've ate pills and drank liquor. Wasn't enough to do it. I didn't have the balls to just do it with the gun. Today, I'm not going to kill myself. But it don't bother me to know I'm going home eventually. About around 40 years old, 38, 40 years old, when I got off the dirt bikes and got in the trucks, the Jeeps. I've had a full-size Bronco for a long time, folks. That was my rock crawler. Full-size 1994 Bronco with the 300 straight six, 4.9 liter, I believe, tractor motor. I had 5-speed on the floor with a granny gear you wouldn't believe. Then I locked the front and rear axles. It'd go anywhere I wanted. Anywhere. Let's see. I started fighting back against the government, folks. I got tired of fighting to get out of this world, so I started fighting against this world. Against it. Federal, local, cops, everybody, sheriffs, it didn't matter. I'm going to show they're breaking the laws. It's not just us. It's not just us. Justice. It's not justice. If you people will listen to what I'm saying, you might learn something. I love y'all. I'm telling you, I love y'all. I talked out about freedom. I talked how much freedom you guys have lost in my lifetime. Because it's a different place today, folks. It's a different place today. You could, if anybody around me told me at 14 years old they're going to hitchhike down to 3 states away and another all by themselves, say, all right, well, if that's what you are going to do and I can't stop you, nice knowing you. And I'll try to identify the body if I can. I mean, I don't know today this is a different world, folks. Back in the 70s, early 70s, it was a different world than it is today. You people don't have half the freedoms I used to have. You gotta pay somebody for a fishing pole, the line, the hooks, the sinkers, the bait, all that. You gotta pay for the gas to get to the lake, and then you gotta pay the lake. And you gotta pay the state and the city and the federal government to go drop a little hook with a worm on it into the water and fish. I don't pay these clowns to do that today, and I didn't pay them then. Way I see it, I'm grandfathered in. That's a fact. It's probably emotional, isn't it? I think that's emotional. I think it is. Uh, Let me see. One thing I want to tell you guys, I used to tell my son, this is how I was back before my son graduated high school. My son graduated high school, or before he graduated in high school out in Mesa, Arizona, these guys showed up to the high school in Marine uniforms. Now, by this time, my son had heard my dad talk about how the Marines saved his life. That's the only reason he came out of the Korean War, because that is one thing my dad always said. The Marines saved his life. He loved Marines. He was in the Army. He wasn't even in the Marines. My dad wasn't. So when these guys showed up at my son's high school, they were dressed in those Marine uniforms. Well, my son saw that Marine uniform, fell in love. And he wanted to be a Marine. Well, he was. And before he went in, I told him, I said, what is, you want somebody to shoot at you? I'll take your ass out here into a field. I'll put you on one side and I'll start putting bullets all around you. If you want somebody to shoot at, I can do that. You don't have to sign up for this. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wanted it. I told him, all right, we're going to be Marines then. Got him working out with weights. Told him, all right, well, you got to be able to run a 13-minute mile. At this time, I had a KZ 750 Kawasaki street bike. And I had a little timer, and I go, click, go. And he'd take off running. I'd done clocked him out and showed him the mile run that he had to do. And then I'd tell him, never know if I'm going to come pulling up on my motorcycle, so you better be running. And I did. He never knew when I was going to come pulling up, folks. He never knew. And I did pop up on him every now and then. He'd be walking. I'd tell him, you ain't going to make it this way. You ain't going to make it this way, so just give it up. He'd take off running. Well, the last thing I told him before he went in, because he made it, I pushed him, and he pushed himself because I was pushing him. He pushed himself, and he did it. And he got in. And I told him, I said, before you get in, you're getting ready to go into something tougher, son, than most of these military, what they call that, basic trainings are. I said, you're going into the toughest one. I said, when you get in there, I'm telling you right now, whatever happens, if the bomb breaks, you don't cry. And I laugh about it now, folks, but I hated the fact that I told my son, do not let them see you cry. You cry anywhere else, but you don't cry in front of your buddies and your sergeant while you're in basic training. Don't do it, because the minute you do it, they know they broke you. As far as I know, they didn't make him cry. But that was a wrong thing to tell him, because that doesn't mean you're broken if you cry. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about that. Being emotional is a release of what's happening in your body. Being emotional can be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing for those who make you emotional, if you know what I mean. Because when it comes to those that make you emotionally where you want to hurt them, it can come in many ways. If they make you emotional where you want to walk up and hug them, that's only going to end in one way, and everybody with a smile on their face, nothing bad happened, just good things all around. I guarantee it. Tears do not harm that. I cried when my son graduated from high school, or not high school, from with that electrical degree. He didn't know that. I've cried several times at the things my daughter has done in life, and she didn't know. And, well, she knows a few of them. I don't have a problem with being emotional. Emotional is happy. If I'm happy, that's emotional. If you're unemotional, what are you? Have you taken all them vaccines? Have you got all the boosters and everything, and you're just a freaking robot? Because only a robot and AI technology is going to be non-emotional. I'm a human. I'm a man. And if anybody wants to prove me wrong on anything I say, and about me being a man for sure, do you want me to come pick you up in my Jeep, bring you over here, or what? I'm emotional. God's emotional. Guarantee it. Guarantee God is an emotional being, the one that created everything. Jesus is going to be real emotional when he returns. Make no doubt about it. So, yes, I'm just as emotional as they are. I'm not a robot. I'm Watachi running free. I didn't mean it. I'm Watachi and I'm still running free is what I meant. See, old man, I still screw it up. I'm trying to end it right. No, I'm emotional. I love you guys.